Miracles take place in the atmosphere of faith. You can be changed in the atmosphere of faith. Miracles take place in the atmosphere of faith. You can be changed.
Speaking this morning on worship at his feet. Worship at his feet. Worship at his feet. Luke's Gospel, chapter 17. Read verse 11 through verse 19. Luke 17, 11 through 19. And then we'll also read Joshua chapter 24, verse 14 and 15. Joshua 24, 14 and 15. Luke 17, verse 11 through verse 19. Let's begin with Luke's account. And it came to pass as he went to Jerusalem, that he passed through the midst of Samaria and Galilee. And as he entered into a certain village, there met him 10 men that were lepers, which stood afar off. And they lifted up their voices and said, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. And when he saw them, he said unto them, Go, show yourselves unto the priests. And it came to pass that as they went, they were cleansed. And one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back and with a loud voice glorified God and fell down on his face at his feet, giving him thanks. And he was a Samaritan. And Jesus answering said, Were there not 10 cleansed? But where are the 9? They are not found that return to give glory to God, save this stranger. And he said unto him, Arise, go thy way, thy faith had made thee whole. Somebody shout hallelujah. Joshua chapter 24, verse 14 and 15. Now therefore fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth. And put fathers served on the other side of the flood, and in Egypt, and serve you the Lord. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Worship at his feet. Every human being is a worshiper. There is no human being that is not a worshiper. From the most holy human being to the most sinful human being, every man is a worshiper. The question is what we worship. Not that we can't worship, but the issue is what we worship. Every human being worships something. You worship, I worship. Some worship their parents. Some worship themselves. Some worship their friends. Some worship their name, their family names, and so on. So when we talk about worship, we are talking about something that comes very easy for man. It's easy for man to worship because man naturally was created to worship. Man was naturally created to worship. And so in Joshua 24, Joshua gives us an account. After Joshua led God's people into the promised land, He starts talking to them. If you have reasons to read previous verses, he talks to them about the promises that God had made to them through Abraham. He talks to them about the journey they had made from Egypt to the promised land. He talks to them about the experiences that they had in Egypt and the deliverance that God wrought for them in the land of Egypt. And finally, he reminds us, we are here in that land that God promised. We are here in that land that God said he will bring us into. This is the place that God promised Abraham, his friend. And so Joshua tells them, after all these years, what God promised, he has fulfilled. We have come to a place where what God said many years back, he has done what he said he will do. And so Joshua is like bringing to conclusion the life of Israel. But he ends his address to Israel in a very strategic way. He brings to Israel a choice. He says to them, in this land that God promised he will bring you to. I thought that when they arrived the land, the first thing they would have done would have been to praise God, to worship God. But yet, Joshua brings to them, as they arrive the land, he brings to them the issue of choice. And he says to them, you can choose to serve God who brought you here, or you can choose to serve the gods of this land in whom you dwell. You can choose to serve God who has fulfilled the promises he made. You can also choose to serve the gods of the land you've come to see. You have a choice. It's interesting that although God created man, he still gives man a choice of whom to worship. It's interesting that God doesn't force us to worship him. And so Joshua tells the people that worship is a choice. Worship is not a matter of force. You have to choose to worship him or not to worship him. And so he tells them that all around you are gods. So make a choice. And I guess that what he said to Israel has not changed today, because all around us are gods. And so you have to make a choice of whom to worship. But he goes ahead to tell them, for me, I've made my conclusion. I have decided, for me, Joshua, I have decided for me and my household, we shall worship Jehovah. Now, the question is, why did Joshua give them a choice? Why did Joshua give them a choice? Why didn't they just do like when they crossed the Red Sea? When Miriam removed her tambourine and the other women followed her and the men joined sluggishly and began to worship God. Why didn't they just do that when they arrived the promised land? Simple reason, I believe. Because man is made for worship. Man is wired for worship. Man is designed to worship something. God has given us several inborn capacity for worship. When God made us, he wired us for worship. And so man cannot stay without worshiping something. Everyone worships. Everyone. No, I'm not talking about whether you're born again or not. No, everyone worships. The question is, what do you worship? And so, how did God wire man for worship? 4 or 5 things. How did God wire us for worship? Because it's this wiring that led that Samaritan to a worship encounter with Jesus as he lay at his feet. What did God put in us that shows us that we are wired for worship? Number one, in every man, number one, is the ability to appreciate. Every man has the power of appreciation. Every man has the grace, the capacity to recognize value, to recognize significance. Whether he shows it or not, inborn is a power of appreciation. That's why many men know the difference between gold and coal. Sometimes you don't need to teach man. He knows. Why? Inborn grace, capacity for appreciation. And so when we see things that are valuable, we are able to recognize them. Even little children do. Entered a supermarket a few years back, with my son, Baraka. Met an old friend who decided to buy something for my son. He said, come, let me buy you a biscuit. And he took him to where biscuits were placed. And he said, pick one. And I just stood aside and watched. I don't know how Barakel, about 2-3 years then, picked one of the most expensive biscuits. And I looked at the man and looked away. Because probably he thought he would pick cabin biscuits. Am I talking to somebody here? But God helped him. He had some money on him. And then I tried to tell Barakel, no, don't pick that one. Pick this one. He said, no, I want this one. And I kept my mouth shut. I had never bought that kind of biscuit for him. But how he knew it and how he wanted it, I said, this is the one I want. Which was very expensive, that I don't know. But it seems to me that inborn in man is a capacity to know what is valuable. Whether he appreciates that valuable thing or not, but he has a capacity to know what is valuable. And so, inborn in man is a power of appreciation. Whether you use it or not, is there. That's why, I'm sorry to use this illustration, sometimes a man would not appreciate the wife, but appreciates the maid. Let me not go there today. Because you look at the person this man is appreciating. He leaves something more valuable and beautiful. And appreciates something, sorry to use this word, dirty and not beautiful. And you ask him, what is wrong with this man? Hey, notice this. Inborn is a power of appreciation. And it is this grace of appreciation that leads a man, when properly channeled, to the place of worship at his feet. Number 2, how do I know that we've been wired for worship? Because like I said, it's a power of appreciation that is needed for worship. If you can't appreciate, you can't worship. Because you worship only what you appreciate. And so, you may be born again and not worship God. I will come back to that. And so, number 2, the second thing that God placed in us that makes it natural for man to worship, number 2, is the power of admiration. Everyone admires. We admire things. We delight in things. We are able to take pleasure in things or pleasure in people. Every human being has a capacity to admire. There are people who just travel to beaches and just stand at the beach side, admire nature. They just admire the waves in the sea. People pay money, travel to islands in the world just to admire nature. That's all. There are people who just sit in a particular place, doing nothing, just admiring people. Yes, there are people like that. What are you doing here? Nothing. But if you are a prophet, you will know. What is he sitting there doing? Admiration. And can I say this? You cannot worship what you don't admire. Admiration is needed for worship. And human beings have the power of admiration. There are people, since they came to church today, the only thing they do is admire. Admire someone's dress. Admire someone's face. Admire someone's shoe. Admire someone's shape. Can I go on? They just admire. Am I talking to somebody here? It's not your fault. You've been wired to admire. And you've been wired that way because of worship. Because it's admiration that takes a man to the place of worship. Am I talking to somebody here? Number 3, the third thing that God also put in us that makes it easy for man to worship is adoration, the power of adoration. Adoration implies when we feel profound love. Man easily adores things. There is no man that does not deeply love something. No. Every man deeply loves something. That's the truth. For some, in fact, many people deeply admire, deeply adore babies, newborn babies. Am I talking to somebody here? You feel deep love for a newborn baby. In fact, if you don't, there's something wrong with you. That's the truth. You don't know the mother from Adam, but it's like there's an attachment, there's a link. You want to hold their hand. You want to tickle him or her, to smile, to laugh. You don't need to know the mother of the baby. What is working is adoration, the power of adoration, to love something deeply. And can I say this? you can't truly worship God if you don't activate this grace of adoration. What you don't love deeply, you can't worship. I'm saying this because you discover that this is why many people can't really worship or can't really spend time in the place of worship. When these factors are missing. But all the same, even when they don't worship God, these things will manifest in some other area and they worship some other area, some other thing, either consciously or unconsciously. Number 4, in man also, and this also helps man to worship, is acclamation, the power of acclamation. Acclamation, when we acclaim things, when we applaud things. Man will always acclaim or applaud things. Some people will acclaim a hero. For some people, they will say, Arsenal in my blood till rapture. If you test my blood is blue till rapture. Some will say, Gunners till Jesus comes. You are wondering what all those EPL themes has to do with rapture. There are some that if they are playing by 1 p.m., if church goes beyond or close to 1, they are out. There's this cultic following. You know, they've become your hero. For some, they acclaim political parties. Shout their slogans. Every man has a power of acclamation. We have the power to say, this is good. I believe in this cause. We acclaim it. We have this power that tells us, this is better than this. And when we acclaim things, we say, this is better than the other one. And can I say this? You can't truly worship without the power of acclamation. And so you must come to a place where you say, for me, this is better than this. And so because this is better, I worship this. You must make a choice. Then finally, number 5. In man also, man is wired to worship. And why? Because of this other factor, the power of allegiance. Every human being owes allegiance. That means we give loyalty or dedication to something. We tend to give long-term devotion to people or to things. And so God has equipped man with all of this. The power of allegiance, the power of acclamation, the power of adoration, the power of admiration, and the power of appreciation. Now, let's move forward. What are all these things for? We owe allegiance, we acclaim things, we adore things, we admire things, we appreciate things. What are all these things for? All these has to do with worship. And so the question would be, who do we owe allegiance to? What do you acclaim? What do you admire? What do you appreciate? What do you worship? That's why Joshua said to the people, you have a choice to make. Who you acclaim, who you adore, who you admire, who you worship. But as for me and my house, we will appreciate Jehovah, we will adore Jehovah, we will admire Jehovah, we will acclaim Jehovah, we will pay our loyalty, allegiance to Jehovah. But for you, you have a choice. Question you need to ask and consider is, who do you really adore? Who do you acclaim? Who do you owe allegiance to? Whom do you appreciate? Whom do you admire? Whom do you give your highest regard? Whatever that thing is that you give all of this to, that is what you worship. You know, it's easy to say, I am worshiping Jehovah. But the question is, do you acclaim him? Do you admire him? Do you appreciate him? Do you owe allegiance to him? Do you adore him? Or is there something else that has taken the place of Jehovah? If you do you adore Jehovah just with your tongue, with your mouth? Or do you also adore him in your heart? And so it is possible to be a Christian, spirit-filled, and yet you may not worship God. There are a lot of born-again believers who are not worshiping God. You may say, Pastor, I don't have an idol under my bed. No, that's not what I'm talking about. The question was considered this morning is, who do you worship? Between God and Chelsea, who do you worship? Between God and the political parties, who do you worship? You know, as I was driving down to church, I could see able-bodied young men along one of the party office opposite, a crowd. And I said, this is who they worship. And whoever said, let's do it on a Sunday, I don't know what that person had. And so there's a clear choice that people are making today all over the nation, Nigeria, who they worship. Why didn't they put it on Friday? Whose call do you obey? The person you obey, the thing you obey, that's your God. And so if you are given a choice between church, serving God, and money, business, which will you choose? If there's a choice between serving God and your club, which will you choose? Who you choose or what you choose is actually your God and where your heart is. It's not much of what you say with your mouth, but much of what your actions, the actions that you are putting forth. So Joshua tells the people to choose. You know, it's interesting how Joshua puts it. He says, if it seems pleasant for you to serve God, then if it doesn't seem pleasant to you, don't serve him. If serving God looks bad and grievous to you, then choose the other gods. But if you want to worship God, then there should be nothing in your life that compares to him. Nothing. If it's God you want to worship, then God must be first in your life. You can choose to worship money. You can choose to worship wisdom. You can choose to worship pleasure. In fact, you can choose to worship spirits. Or you can choose to worship the Almighty God. But eventually, every man will become what he worships. You will become like what you worship. You will take on the character of what you worship. If you worship possessions, very soon you become very materialistic. You know, that's when you begin to say, man, you begin to hear a man at every turn who say, I have so degree. Don't you know my name? Think about my name, my house, my degree, my qualifications, and so on. That's what he worships, and it becomes materialistic. If you worship money, very soon you will become greedy, because you're always going to take after the nature of what you worship. A man that worships money, whenever he sees money, his eyes goes reckless. And there are many people like that. They can do anything. When I say anything in capital letters for money. There are people, when they see money, their values go down. Because money is involved, you see a man bow and worship another man. Because 2,000 is going to drop. Because money is involved, you see a man climb on top of a Hilux bus, driving for a campaign, and the driver is driving on top speed. Is it because he believes in the ideals of the man he's supporting? No, money. And so will not mind to endanger his life because of 2,000 naira. For some, it doesn't matter who they cheat, as long as money is involved. For some, it doesn't matter who they bring down and blackmail, as long as money is involved. Many have killed their parents because of money. Many have killed their children because of money. Why? They've chosen to worship money, and so they become greedy. If you worship sex, you will soon become lustful. You know, I met a couple of people who always complain. The way these sisters are dressing, the way women dress these days. Yeah, I agree. There are some that dress wickedly, satanically. I agree. But there are a couple of men who say, the way women dress, they should be decent. But you know something? Dressing alone does not solve the problem. Because even if a woman is covered from head to toe, like a Catholic nun, the one who worships sex will still be lustful. I subscribe to decent dressing, don't misquote me. But the truth is, if you have a problem, you have a problem. It really has nothing to do with the dressing. The dressing can affect it. I agree, please don't misquote me. But if you have a problem, check it. It has to do with worship. Some of the problems we have is what is on our mind most of the time. The things you fantasize about most of the time. That's what you worship. Leave the girl alone. Check your heart. Oh, hear me. Please don't misquote me. I subscribe to decent dressing. But people of God, many times it's not the dressing, your heart. Check your heart before the dressing. Check your thoughts before the dressing. I agree many dress satanically today to seduce and all of that. But check your heart. If you worship power, very soon you become very corrupt. If all you want is power, you become very corrupt because you, at a point, you begin to do anything to get power. If they say sleep in the cemetery, you will, just to get power. If they say put a mentally a mentally deranged woman into a family, you will, just because of power. So many worship sex, worship money, worship possessions, worship power, knowledge. And interestingly, young people today worship people they call celebrities. People worship all kinds of people on TV today, even when some of them don't qualify to be a celebrity. Worship a man that has broken. When you worship a man that has a broken relationship, broken marriage, very soon, what do you expect will happen to you? People used to worship Michael Jackson. You know why they worshipped him? Simply because he used to dance backward. Don't ask me who dances backward in your village. Let me not go there today. But he was worshipped because he used to dance backward. You know, go and watch that documentary about him. You know, at a point in his life, women will see him and collapse. Simply because of a man dancing backward. They fall under the light anointing. Sorry. So the same thing that happens to people when they encounter the power of God. The same thing also happens to men when they encounter their celebrities who they worship. And so who is making you false or collapse? Am I talking to somebody here? Who is that person when you see her or him? Your body is market. See musicians on the stage singing. See how people rush just to touch their hands or touch their clothes. Am I talking to somebody here? When that woman with the issue of blood touched the garments of it was worship. Am I talking to somebody here? And so men must worship something. You collapse because of Michael Jackson. A man who was trying to solve his own problems and could not solve it till he died. Am I talking to somebody here? Am I talking to somebody here? You become what you worship. You become what you worship. Jesus met 10 men, lepers. Oh my God. He told them, go show yourself to the priest. After they cried for his help, he said, go and show yourself to the priest. The Bible says, as they went, they were healed. Then one man came back. And Jesus took time to mention that the man was a Samaritan. That implies the other 9 were Jews. The one came back. Just to show us that whether Jew or Samaritan, everyone has the power of worship. The one came back. Why did that one come back? He came back because he knew what it means to worship. He knew what it means to be loved. He knew what it means to admire. He knew what it means to acclaim. He knew what it means to pay allegiance to. And so the Bible says, he came back. No one told him to do it. He fell at his feet and worshipped him. Without him, I wouldn't be healed. Without him, Jesus, I wouldn't be saved. Without him, I'll still be standing at the junction there, begging for food. Without him, I'll still remain an outcast. I'll never be able to join the others out there. Without him, my case was a closed matter. But when I met him, he reopened my case and he made me become something again. Am I talking to somebody here? He owed everything about his entire being to Jesus. And so at his feet, he went in worship. And what the 9 did not have, the worshiper, by reason of that encounter had. Others did not receive wholeness. For this man, people of God, he wasn't just being a leper. There were other issues in his life. But at the place of worship, every other issue was dealt with. Because Jesus said, by this worship, you have been made whole. Anybody here under the sound of my voice, let's come to the place of worship. Let's serve him alone. Let's worship him alone. Let's lift our voices and our hands to him alone. Let's acclaim him. Let's appreciate him. Let's adore him. Let's admire him. Let's pay him allegiance. And I guarantee you, every other issue will be solved. Can we go to his feet?
Join us at Victory Chapel, the church on campus, University of Udoh, Akwa Ibom State. For prayers and counseling, please call 0812 962 7804 or 0808 129 8679. Or you can also email uniyovictorychapel@gmail.com. A life-changing experience awaits you. God bless you.